हेलो दोस्तों, दिस इज भारत कुमार एंड यू आर वाचिंग माय चैनल निर्मल इन्फो अपडेट्स।
Hold me close till I get up. Time is barely on our side. I don't wanna waste what's left.
The Indian Army on Thursday destroyed at least 10 Pakistani Army posts along the line of control in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. The Indian Army opened fire at the Pakistani troops while responding to an unprovoked ceasefire violation in Rajouri and Poonch sectors of Jammu and Kashmir. During the ceasefire violation, Pak firing killed Army Jawan Harsharan Singh. A policeman, who was on leave, was also injured as his home in the Nowshera sector of Rajouri district came under Pak firing. Responding to Pakistan troops, the Indian Army targeted Pakistani posts in the Kahala and Nala Samhani sector. Sources say Pakistan Army has suffered heavy damages during the Indian strikes in POK. As China and India continue the complex task of disengagement in eastern Ladakh, the Chinese have employed all the tools in Sun Tzu's playbook. They used deception to make rapid incursions along the line of actual control, LAC. They were inscrutable during the military-to-military talks between generals from both sides. Their future intent in disputed areas in Ladakh remains unfathomable. But they have allowed diplomacy and disengagement to proceed if they probe beyond how far it can be pushed. Beyond the standoff lie larger geopolitical questions. What were China's real intentions behind the sudden aggression at 5 points across the LAC? Declan was relatively easier to decode. After 73 days the Chinese withdrew with minor face-saving concessions from both sides. The current entanglement arose from more complex geopolitical concerns in Beijing. First, China finds itself increasingly isolated following its malign role in spreading the COVID-19 virus and imposing a draconian national security law on Hong Kong. China was compelled to agree to an independent investigation into the source of the virus and whether China suppressed crucial information that could have saved hundreds of thousands of lives. Whenever Beijing has felt cornered, it has lashed out. It did so against Australia last month, banning the import of Australian beef. The last British governor of Hong Kong, Chris Patten, called China's move on Hong Kong a breach of the 1984 Sino-British agreement that returned Hong Kong to China in 1997 but safeguarded all its liberties till 2047. Following Patten's criticism, China warned Britain that interfering in China's internal affairs would backfire, hinting that a trade deal between post-Brexit Britain and China could be a casualty. More than any other recent Chinese leader, President Xi Jinping has made China a more authoritarian state at home and a more expansionary one overseas. India also angered China during the COVID-19 crisis by making it mandatory for Chinese companies to seek government approval before investing in India. Till now Chinese companies were allowed to use the automatic route. Beijing was further needled when two BJP MPs, including the feisty Meenakshi Khare, attended the swearing-in of Taiwan's anti-China President Tsai Ing-wen through video conferencing. Cherubin and the MPs conveyed fulsome congratulations to the president for winning a second successive term. The report states that India and the US are the world's two biggest democracies, sharing common interests in free trade, defending the strategic sea lanes of the Indian Ocean, and preventing China's growing negative influence in the Indo-Pacific region. Ties between India and the US had been marred by distrust for decades, with New Delhi extensively opposing extensive engagement with the US. However, Indian PM Narendra Modi looks determined to change that, making moves that once would have been seen as unimaginable. In January 2015, Modi invited then-President Barack Obama as the guest of honor at India's annual Republic Day celebrations, the first time the US president had accepted to be the chief guest at the event. Next year, Obama formally confirmed India as a major defense partner, and the two nations went on to sign a pact for deeper defense ties. Under Donald Trump, ties continue to get strengthened. Last year, Indian PM publicly admired India's ties with Washington, claiming the US as India's most significant partner. Trump has earlier referred to Modi as his dear friend. India has opened itself up to increasing volumes of bilateral trade with the US, and earlier this year accepted to acquire $3 billion in US military equipment, in a sign of increasing political cooperation. The two nations are now seen as engaged democracies rather than estranged democracies, as they were known during the Cold War days. Analysts believe that growing India-US ties were somewhat driven by a fear of China's growing economic and political clout in the region. In recent times, India has sought to strengthen ties with Washington, partially powered by a fear of Chinese economic and political influence in the region, especially in ports in nearby oceans. Anik Joshi, a public policy professional based in Washington, D.C., writes in Foreign Policy. If the Chinese get more aggressive in the Indian Ocean, India has been seeking an ally to bolster deterrence. C. Rajamohan, director of the Institute of South Asian Studies at NUS, said that India has now come to understand that China is bound to expand its influence at Delhi's expense. Mohan also noted that India was moving into an ever closer partnership with the US in an attempt to rebalance the Indo-Pacific region, a maneuver that's quickened under PM Modi. But he also notes that the Indian is wary of the unpredictability in the US under Donald Trump and is thus keen to retain the traditional security pact with Russia. India, upset over Nepal's decision to bring in constitutional amendment to redraw its political map, may now seek to have a tough approach towards politicians of the Himalayan state and rather build stronger ties with civil society and Nepali citizens. Delhi is particularly upset with how PM KP Sharma Oli, once a close confidant of India, is using the issue to consolidate his position in Nepali politics and create his legacy, according to experts on Indo-Nepal affairs. Delhi is further peeved with the growing trend within Nepal's polity to shift blame to India for Kathmandu's own failure to address internal matters. The decision to change the political map was a result of the current government's failure to control domestic issues and divert attention by encouraging nationalism against Big Brother India, according to Nepal watchers. The ELA government is also under fire for its handling of COVID-19 situation. Delhi may start focusing on widening ties with the Nepalese civil society and nationals rather than politicians who have hardened their positions. Nepal has reportedly sought foreign secretary-level talks with India via video conferencing. But simultaneously, Kathmandu went ahead to pass the constitutional amendment bill to change the map on Tuesday. Delhi feels that such an approach, where Nepal plans to force India to talk after making a decision, is a futile exercise and will not yield results, according to Nepal watchers. While there is no such move at present, any decision by Nepal to approach UN to present its new map will just be customary exercise, as UN has its own yardstick on maps of various countries. An expert on UN affairs told ET ties between the two have been lukewarm after Delhi inaugurated a road linking Kailash Mansarovar via Lipulik on May 8. Nepal issued an updated map on May 20. The controversial updated map includes Indian areas of Kalapani, Lipulik and Limpiyadra in its territory. Speaking on the bill in Parliament on Tuesday, Defence Minister Ishwar Pekral said Nepal is confident of regaining the territory from India through diplomatic dialogue. The amendment bill, which requires a two-thirds majority in both the Houses of Parliament, is certain to pass as all the opposition parties have backed the ruling party. Though Nepali Congress, Janata Samajwadi Party, Nepal Major Kisan Party and Rastriya Jana Morcha have registered separate amendments in the statute, they unanimously stood for the government's bill. The deliberation on the bill continued for around 4 hours. 84 lawmakers from cross parties took part in the discussion.
Yeah.